In 2024, I think we had 40 executions that year, and the majority
Wow.
came out of Texas. So I moved to Texas to do capital defense work. I ended up doing interviews with some people who had served as jurors in cases where people were about to be executed. By the time you get to an execution date, if there were any mistakes that were made, it's important to justice and to the law to ensure that those things are corrected before an execution. So that often meant
Mhm.
that we were interviewing jurors to make sure that jurors had followed the law. And those first juror interviews that I did had a profound effect on me because by the time I turned up at the home of a juror, I knew a lot about the person who was about to be executed because there had been this whole other investigation that took place after the trial had ended. And that
Mhm.
whole other investigation tended to be far more robust than anything that had been done prior to the trial. This extended investigation revealed so much more that the juror never had access to. And they should have. They had a
Mhm.
right to know that information before they made this decision. But when I showed up at their doorstep and they started telling me about who the defendant was, what they learned about him, they described somebody that was so different to the person that I was familiar with. And that's when I
Mhm.
began to see this real limitation that the way that they understood the person that they sat in judgment of was profoundly different to the history of the person that was collected after the trial had ended, and that
Mhm.
this was problematic because the people who were legally entitled to the information, they never got the information. When they learned about what had been discovered after the trial, they were very upset because
Mhm.
they wanted that information. They felt like they should have had it, and then oftentimes they regretted their decision. They learned, and then they had this regret that they sat with for the rest of their life.